Hi everybody, Miss Pinnock here, and today I would like to read for you a story for Science Week, and the story is called Ada Twist, Scientist, and it's by Andrea Beatty and it's illustrated by David Roberts. I wonder what this book could be about. Let's have a look inside. Ada Marie said not a word till the day she turned 3. She bounced in her crib and looked all around, observing the world, but not making a sound. So that's Ada Marie with her brother there. She learned to climb and made her big break with a trail of chaos left in her wake. She ran through the day, chasing each sound and sight, and didn't slow down till she conked at night. Ada Marie's been very busy. Her parents were frazzled but tried not to freak as Ada grew bigger and still did not speak. Clearly young Ada, with lots in her head, would have something to say when it ought to be said. So there's Ada playing with her toys down there and her parents are frazzled. That's just what happened when Ada turned 3. She tore through the house on a fact-finding spree and climbed up the clock just as high as she could. Her parents yelled, "Stop!" as all good parents would. Ada's chin quivered, but she did not cry. She took a deep breath and she simply asked, "Why?" So Ada Marie asked why. Why does it tick? Why does it tock? Why don't we call it a granddaughter clock? Why are the pointy things stuck to a rose? What are the hairs up inside of your nose? She started with why, then what, how and when. By bedtime she came back to why once again. See, Ada's got lots of questions. Why, what, how, when? She drifted to sleep as her dazed parents smiled at the curious thoughts of their curious child, who wanted to know what the world was about. They kissed and whispered, "You'll figure it out." Her parents kept up with their high-flying kid. So she's asking more and more questions, Ada, whose questions and chaos both grew as she did. Even Miss Greer, that's Ada's teacher, found her hands were quite full when young Ada's chaos wreaked havoc at school. But this much was clear about Miss Ada Twist. She had all the traits of a great scientist. See Ada and her friends, she's doing an experiment. Ada was busy that first day of spring, testing the sounds that make mockingbirds sing. What a horrible stench whacked her right in the nose, a pungent aroma that curled up her toes. "Zoe!" said Ada, which got her to thinking. What is the source of that terrible stinking? How does a nose know there's something to smell? And does it still stink if there's no nose to tell? She rattled off questions and tapped on her chin. She'd start at the start where she ought to begin. A mystery, a riddle, a puzzle, a quest. This was the moment Ada loved best. Look at Ada. Ada did research to learn all she could of smelling and smells, both stinky and good. One hypothesis Ada thought could be true. The terrible stink came from Dad's cabbage stew. She tested and tested, but soon Ada knew it was time to come up with hypothesis 2. Then Zoe! The stink struck again, just like that. Hypothesis 2, it caused by the cat. So the cat caused hypothesis 2, that's what she's thinking. The cat couldn't make such a stink on its own. It needed perfume and some fancy cologne. So young Ada tested. The test was a flop. See, Ada's doing a test here. She started again and her parents yelled, "Stop!" Ada Marie, to the thinking chair now. By the time we count to 3, enough, said her mother. That's it, said her dad. Her parents were frustrated, frazzled, and mad. Why? Ada questioned. Her mother said no. What? Ada queried. Her father said go. You've ruined our supper. You've made the cat stink. Enough with your questions. Now sit there and think. She looked at her parents. Her heart turned to goo. Poor Ada Twist didn't know what to do. So Ada Twist didn't know what to do. Look at her there. She sat all alone by herself in the hall, and Ada once more could say nothing at all. And so Ada sat and she sat and she sat and she thought about science and Stu and the cat and how her experiments made such a big mess. Does it have to be so? Is that part of success? Our mess is a problem, and while she was thinking what was the source of that terrible stinking, Ada Marie did what scientists do. She asked a small question and then she asked two, and each of those led to her 3 questions more, and some of those questions resulted in 4. As Ada got thinking, she really dug in. She scribbled her questions and tapped on her chin. She started at why, and then what, how, and when. At the end of the hall, she reached why once again. So she's making her inquiry there. She's doing her what, why, how, and when on the wall. Her parents calmed down and they came back to talk. They looked at the hallway and just had to gawk. No patch of bare paint could be seen on the wall. The thinking chair now was the great thinking hall. They watched their young daughter and sighed as they did. What would they do with this curious kid? Who wanted to know what the world was about? They smiled and whispered, "We'll figure it out." So the parents are now looking at their curious kid. And that's what they did, because that's what you do when your kid has a passion and heart that is true. They remade their world. Now they're all in the act of helping young Ada sort fiction from fact. She asked lots of questions, but how could she resist? It's all in the heart of a young scientist. Look at Ada, the young scientist. Wow. But as for that smell, what could Ada Twist do but learn all she can with her friends in grade 2? Will they discover that stink that curls toes? Well, that is the question, and someday, who knows? So they're doing their tests there with Ada, her and her friends. The end. Now that's the end of the story. Ada Twist, Scientist. Thank you for listening.